How's it going, everyone? This is K Collections, and we are just over a month and a half into 2019. Lots of new servants to look forward to, so I'll break down the top 5-star servants you should consider summoning for this year. I'll go over some of their strengths so you'll have an idea of how good they are. Keep in mind, this list isn't based on any tier list, it's from my own personal perspective and experiences. This doesn't mean other servants aren't good, and it doesn't mean these servants won't have any weaknesses. Let's get started. So, starting off in 5th place, we have a new class servant that will be introduced called Alter Ego. They deal effective damage against all foreigners and cavalry units, but will deal resist damage against the 3 knights. On the plus side, they receive neutral damage against all classes except berserkers, which is still effective, and foreigners, which deal resist damage to them. So who could it be? Well, we have 2 5-star alter egos this year, but I have to say, Kiara is the one you should go for. Some players will say Melt is better. I personally do not like her demerits, and besides, Kiara is freaking hot. Kiara is an arts and crit focused servant that specializes in utility. One major weakness is that most of her skill effects last 1 turn on a 9 to 6 turn cooldown depending on the level, but the abilities are amazing. Kiara will have a NP battery skill that can charge 50%. The skill will also decrease a target's arts resistance, allowing your servants to deal more damage when attacking with that specific card. On top of that, she can decrease all enemies' defense for 3 turns. That very same skill will also reduce all enemies' gauge by 1. As of right now, she's the only servant in NA that has an AoE NP reduction, making her very effective when facing multiple bosses at the same time. Kiara also has a passive skill that increases defense against humanoids, which is basically all servants. Her AoE NP attack can pierce invincibility and defense buffs. It'll also heal her health anywhere from 2k to 6k depending on the overcharge. Overall, she's a very versatile servant, best used with any star generators. The class advantage makes her relatively easy to use even for beginners, but she really isn't meant for farming, more so for boss battles. In 4th place, we have a ruler class servant. It's pretty obvious who this is. It's none other than the great detective Sherlock Holmes. I always recommend to players that they should have at least 1 ruler servant because they can tank in battle. Sherlock is yet another arts and crit focused servant that specializes in utility. He also has the highest attack stat out of all ruler servants. So why do I recommend Sherlock Holmes? Well, first I have to admit it does take some strategy and skills to use him effectively in battle. You'll need a strong star generator. Thankfully, he can create up to 20 stars instantly while sealing a target's NP for 1 turn, allowing your team to survive that turn just in case. He can also absorb stars, allowing him to deal crit damage for a turn. Great for charging his NP gauge. Now the main purpose of Sherlock is to spam his Noble Phantasm. Having an arts buff and a passive that increases arts by 12% will help a lot. His Noble Phantasm will increase your entire party's crit damage by a minimum of 50%, which in itself is a lot. 100% if you're a whale or just have godly luck. The NP will also reduce all enemies' defense while giving your servants the ability to pierce invincibility and defense buffs so your enemies can't escape. The effects can also stack, meaning you're going to deal a lot of damage. Remember though, it takes proper setup because it's so reliant on crit starts and team compositions. But trust me, it's a really powerful strategy when done correctly. In 3rd place, we have a foreigner class servant, which is obviously Abigail Williams. Her class deals effective damage against other foreigners and berserkers. They are weak against themselves and alter egos, but berserkers deal resist damage against them, making them the ultimate anti-berserkers. Abbey is an art/buster servant that excels in attack and support. She has a passive that increases buster performance as well as a single target buster NP attack which will remove all buffs before damage. This is great as it will eliminate any invincibility, guts, or defense buffs. Her attack stats are also relatively high. On top of that, she can lower enemies' defense and attack for 3 turns. Now for her support. Abbey can increase your servant's NP damage while charging 10% of their NP gauge passively for 3 turns. Another of her passive skill will create 2 stars each turn, not a whole lot but can still help. If that isn't enough, she can reduce a target's NP gauge by 1, which is always a lifesaver. Lastly, Abbey can inflict terror on all enemies, which is a low chance to stun them once within 3 turns. Not entirely reliable, but can still stall enemies sometimes. At the end of the day, she's a very unique servant, and with her foreigner class, she won't take a lot of effective damage. Most class will deal neutral damage, making her a great mixed class boss battle servant. Moving on to the second servant you should summon this year is one of my personal favorites, Aresh. I know many of you are saving for her as well, especially after the Babylonia Singularity, cause Aresh was awesome in it. She's an offensive lancer with multiple supportive effects to help your team. First, let's talk about her offensive capabilities. Aresh can charge her NP gauge up to 50% while boosting Buster performance for a turn. Her NP also increases Buster performance as an overcharge effect. The later you chain it within an NP chain, the higher the boost. On top of that, it will also increase your team's attack when combined with another of her skill. But the buff occurs after her NP damage, keep that in mind. Aside from damage, Aresh also possesses good survivability, having the highest HP stats out of all Lancers even in JP. Aresh also has a unique invincibility skill that can potentially grant her a few immunities such as death or debuff immunity. Like I said, Aresh can offer support to your team. Her protection of the underworld increases your team's defense, which again helps her with survivability. Along with that, it increases NP gains and max HP. That skill is meant to be combined with her NP attack, which gives an attack buff like I mentioned before. So, Aresh is a balance between an attacker and a supporter, kind of like Nero Bride, although obviously very different. Finally, the number one servant you should summon in 2019 is a caster. Who could it be? It's Summer Nero. She's awesome. Her attack stats are the same as Ilya, being the second highest currently in NA. Nero's main focus is dealing AoE damage and survivability. Her Noble Phantasm can pierce invincibility as well as increase her NP damage. Nero can also buff her attack with 2 different skills, though she does have low NP gaining stats. Her high hit counts along with an NP battery skill, which can charge up to 50%, that also increases NP gains if her health falls below 50%, makes her a solid NP spammer. Caster Nero has a unique skill called 7 Crowns, which buffs her attack and defense for 3 turns, but also ignores class disadvantage when being attacked. This means Riders and Berserkers, who normally deals effective damage to casters, will now deal neutral damage to her while the skill is in effect. It's a great ability, especially in boss rush quests, where she may have a disadvantage. What's even better is that it's on a 5-turn cooldown when maxed out. Nero can also grant gut status to any servant while boosting attack. Of course, this applies to herself as well, going back to her survivability. In terms of offensive casters, Summer Nero is one of the best. She's great for farming, and she's great in challenge quests, which is essentially the main fundamentals of this game. Special thanks to all of my patrons for supporting me. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon. So, what is your top 5 5-star servants for 2019? Comment down below, I'd like to know. I'll also make another video talking about the 5 4-star servants you should summon this year, so look forward to that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more FGO content. Follow my Twitter, Instagram, and join my Discord server. All links are in the description. Have an awesome day. Till next time.